We continue our story with Gore, where he simply states, for a god with magical abilities, you're not that good at stealth. So he turns exactly where Loki is. So Loki simply uncloaks himself and states, well, I didn't expect a necro sword wielder to be an omnipotent city. And to which Gore simply states, I didn't expect it as guardian, or sorry, a frost giant to be here. To which Loki kind of sneers at him. Yes, we didn't expect that. But may I ask, what is your mission, if I may? And why are you using the devourer of gods themselves? To which this is where Gore simply states, Jormungandr was once beaten by every god here, together, including the Celestials. So he thought, why not use him to end every god in existence? Or at least the ones that I see worthless in my eyes. And now, it's time I deal with another worthless god. To which he lunges at Loki, but Loki teleports and goes invisible, and he runs, like just straight up books it at that point. He knows good and well he can't fight Gore, especially with the fact that the world serpent is there. Even if he could, deal with, without the world serpent, he still can't fight Gore here. And he uses his clones or his magical abilities to cast illusions of him running in different directions, meaning Gore is stabbing nothing but clones. But this is where Loki runs past their prisoners, and they each begin bursting out of their cells as black berserkers. Meanwhile, back at top, we actually go to the bar area where Hela, Fafnir, Hera, Valkyrie, and Thor are simply relaxing, enjoying themselves even. We'll say that Sobek is off in another area, kind of dealing with the security issues or something like that. And this is where Hera actually likes the dynamic and loves the romance between Fafnir and Hela. And Hela simply states, indeed. And now that you're a part of it, we get to enjoy it even more. To which Fafnir simply states, indeed. It's nice to know I can actually have two brides instead of one. Although, I do admit, it was fun to humble someone like Zeus. But this is where they hear panting and someone running in saying, guys, whew, I think I think we should run. However, this is where they hear screaming, battling, and the various stuff that happens with chaos from a distance, right? And Valkyrie's like, what's going on? Wait a minute, no, that's impossible. And she sees the black berserkers tearing through the entirety of like gods or lower tier gods and stuff like that. But in the midst, this is where Ares and Hercules both show up, both cutting down their oppositions left and right. With Ares simply stating he lives for this, he loves this, he adores this. This is war, this is battle, and he's enjoying every moment of it. But this is where he tells his brother to look out. And Hercules himself is smashing through the black berserkers. One tries to get him from behind, but he simply tosses it into another, with his adamantine mace doing a lot of damage, considering his fists aren't doing much. But this is where bigger ones show up, combined even, consuming other gods that are unable to escape, beings Aphrodite and other low tier gods, Ulik, etc. Beings that are not really too relevant here. And this is where Zeus simply appears, stating, they shall not have my kingdom. To which Hera's like, let's see how this unfolds even. Again, it's her ex-husband, but again, she still has a bit of romance for him. But this is where Gore simply appears, slaughtering a few of the other gods. Let's say it's from the Japanese pantheon. Susanoo and Amaterasu, maybe. And this is where Gore is like, the king of gods himself. And Zeus simply states, you, the necro sword wielder. To which Gore simply tells him, my name is Gore, the god butcher. And I shall add you to my personal entourage, if you will. And so Gore and Zeus battle, lightning against darkness. And this is where Zeus simply states, "You have it, don't you?" as he fires a lightning bolt. Gore utilizes the darkness to basically smack away the lightning, and then wraps the one around Zeus's foot or leg and simply slams him into the ground. And Gore says, "Go on, explain so I can enjoy it even more." And this is where Zeus simply states, "You have the dark force." And then Zeus fires a full force lightning blast that Gore simply pulls a Thanos, if you will, spinning his blade and deflecting it. And he simply states, "Yes, I do. You know the origins of the Necro Sword, forged in the pits of darkness itself by its original god, used to kill celestials and other deities countless times over, and given the power of the ancient darkness itself, the dark force, a force so powerful not even the celestials dare to fight it, dare to even go near any of its users." Funny, isn't it? To which Zeus says, "No, no, this will not happen. This will not end this way." And keep in mind, you have everybody else fighting against the Black Berserkers as well, with Fafnir actually taking out a large majority of the giant ones. But this is where Jormungandr burst through the city, and he's stained with the blood of countless gods he's killed. And this is where Fafnir actually decides he's going to fight Jormungandr himself, and so charges at him along with the likes of Thor. And this is where we pan over back to Gore versus Zeus. It's not going good. Zeus is on his last legs. And Loki, seeing this, simply states, "I think it is time we made a strategic retreat." To which even Fafnir, after getting swatted down along with Thor, simply states, "Okay, yeah, I think that's a very good idea. There's no way we can beat any of the gods here." But this is where Ares is like, "No, no, you all are cowards. We must fight to the very end. We must die for Omnipotent City. This is our home. This is our, livelihood." But this is where Hela simply asks Thor to create some room. And so Thor actually uses his tornado, or, uses his own weather manipulation to cast a wind of 1,000 worlds, everything he's got, into this one tornado. Fafnir joins in, creating a fire vortex as well, and simply states this is not gonna keep them back for long. And keep in mind, all of the 8 of them at the very least are pretty much engrossed here, but throughout the fire, they can see something. They can even hear the screams of Zeus himself being stabbed and killed. And this is where Sobek runs in and simply tells Fafnir that he needs to get out of here. He needs to escape now. However, Fafnir sees the world serpent snap up Sobek and leaves him with his sword. And Fafnir, holding it, is like, "No, no, 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 no." His best friend eaten before his eyes. And this is where Thor was like, "We need to go now. We need to get out of here." And he simply states Heimdall portal, as Fafnir pretty much falls to his knees holding the blade of his friend. And everyone gets back to Asgard. Hela, Hera, Loki, Valkyrie, Thor, Hercules, Fafnir, and Ares. Everyone's there. And Fafnir is on his knees in anguish, holding the sword of his friend. He lost one of his only friends that he hasn't seen in 1,000 years, and this is how, he reunites with him, having a good time, and then all of a sudden, bam, a god-killing snake just simply eats him, and it's done. He's in anguish, and Hela comforts him. She basically tries to lift him up the best she can, and Hera also chimes in, saying that they've all lost their home, but the best they can do now is prepare. He's gonna come to Asgard, isn't he? To which Hela simply is like, yes, he is. And we must prepare. Follow me as I know a way for us to get stronger. So she manages to calm Fafnir, who's seething with anger, seething with rage, mind you. And he wants revenge, he wants payback, he wants the power to kill the world serpent. Into which Hela, as they're walking, simply states she'll give him that. And he'll be so much more. But again, he can sense something in her voice, the hesitation, the fear. And this is where they follow Hela. She tells them all about Odin's, old archives. How there were legendary powers in Asgard. And how beings of unparalleled power guarded them. The world serpent, yes, is one of the most powerful beings in the universe, at least according to their mythos, anyway. But there's still something that even it cannot stop. To which Loki simply states, "Okay, sister, I'm understanding that you know, I guess you could say, are eager to prove something, but what is it?" To which Hela simply states, "Oh, dear brother, you don't know, do you?" And so she takes her deeper into Asgard to show a old library, Odin's studies with forbidden archives. This was kept off from them for quite some time, into which Thor and Loki look in disbelief as Odin never would have told them about this. And so Hela explains that there are a few ways to become more powerful. The rune magic left in the giant's graveyard, the immortal bird or the immortal beast of a million, and there's one more, the red dragon. To which Fafnir looks at her and is like, "You're afraid I'll die." To which she explains the last Asgardian that did it was cruel, powerful even for him. And to which Fafnir simply holds her face and reassures her, he'll be fine, he'll win, and he'll come back more powerful. And so Hela kisses him and simply states he had it better. But this is where Valkyrie simply states that since Gore is going to come to Asgard, they best prepare. So Valkyrie heads off and finds Heimdall, and they both begin the orchestration of Asgard. So what happens here? Well, Hela begins to explain what each person needs to do. Some of them are going to be pairing off, some of them are not, because right now they're at a team of technically 7 instead of 8 or 9, I would say. I'm definitely going to say 9 because whatchamacallit, what's it called? Heimdall. Heimdall joins us. Excuse me. I almost lost my train of thought there. But this is where she pretty much organizes everyone. Thor and Ares go to one location, ensuring that Thor gets the power, considering he is the one that is meant to really handle this. The next one is Hercules and Fafnir. They go to the dragon's realm. And then finally, you have Loki. Loki goes to Earth. And he goes specifically towards Japan, a specific Japanese temple that has mystical energies around it, almost similar to that of a sorcerer supreme, if you will. And this is where we basically have people training in the art style of the crane, which is actually very intriguing. And this is where Loki hears a voice stating, "I expect you to show up sometime, Loki." And this is where we see the vermilion bird stating, "I understand you've come for my power or my training. So, why don't we begin ASAP?" To which Loki states, "Ah, yes, couldn't have agreed more myself." But this is where we go over to the dragon realm, where beasts of unparalleled power rule. Dragons, unicorns, leviathans, you name it. And it's civilized, mostly. There's obviously a hierarchy, and the hierarchy is somewhat cruel, with the dragons themselves are being carefully monitored. There's gold, silver, bronze, copper, and other dragons here: lightning, poison, death, and ice. But red dragons are noted to be the most powerful, but unfortunately the most rare. And Fafnir, his quest is to become a more powerful red dragon. Maybe not one that's more powerful, but one that should exceed the limits of the world serpent. And unfortunately for him, he has an obstacle, or he and Hercules have an obstacle. That being the former Asgardian warlord of Odin, Saturn. He's asleep at the moment here. Doesn't even sense that someone's after his power, the power that he coveted. But there's a little secret. Saturn never went fully in to the training. He completed it just enough to get the power, but not fully mastering it. And so this is where when Hercules and Fafnir arrive, Saturn awakens and he's prepared to kill these intruders, saying that no one shall exceed him as the Red Dragon King. But this is where we pan over to Thor at the giant's graveyard. It's a planet with a few rocks and some oceans, but there are bones beneath it that make a temple. And this is where Thor and Ares arrive. They see that the land is almost barren. Very few life forms here as it is. And this is where they look out to the sea. Seems vast, seems nearly unquantifiable. But this is where Ares simply asks, "Are you ready? Are you ready to see where this journey leads us, brother?" And to which Thor's like, "Aye, my friend, let us begin our journey." And so they descend into the sea. But again, it's not, so what I'm looking for, it's not threatening. Doesn't threaten to drown, doesn't threaten to consume. Actually, it's welcoming. They're almost easy to breathe under there. It's actually kind of frightening in a way. But again, they continue on with the journey. And this is where we pan over to Hela and Hera, who actually traveled halfway across the universe to the God Quarry, a realm where you can get power based on you discovering who you truly are, who you truly want to be. And Hera has no intention going into this. She knows good and well who she is, and she's confident in knowing who she is. But again, the power is what Hela needs, And she simply asks, "Are you sure about this?" To which Hela simply states yes. She thought she knew who she was, thought she was always the most powerful being in existence. But her father was always an eye-opener, and Gore and the World Serpent are more established than ever before. So Hera kisses her and tells her, "Best of luck to you, my love." And this is where we actually see the three emissaries of the quarry itself. And they simply explain here, if you do this, you will not get out until you find yourself. Many have tried, and many have failed. Are you sure you want this? To which Hela simply states, she would want nothing more than to save this universe, and even gods like yourself. So, Hela jumps into the quarry, and when she touches down, she's immediately turned into this sort of cosmic stone, left there paralyzed as Hera simply waits and hopes for the best, if you will. But this is not where we leave off here. No. We would head over back to Omnipotent City. It's in ruin, destroyed, where a now corrupted and infected Zeus simply kneels before Gore and simply asks, "What will you have me do, master?" And to which Gore simply states, "I think it's time we took a trip to Asgard, don't you think? And I also think it's time we fulfilled the World Serpent's prophecy." And that's what we're going to leave it off here. How is this going to play out? How are these power-ups going to work? Keep in mind, everything is happening at the same time. So I will be discussing every single power-up in detail in the next one. And how are they going to stop Gore? So Be sure to comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.